Hi everyone, this is Chanelle Adams and welcome to my channel. I'm so excited to have you here. I am back in New York City. Yes, I finally returned from Spain, from Madrid, from Valencia, from Alicante, all different places in Spain. This video is about how to travel for free or for really cheap. So I've gotten a lot of comments and a lot of questions asking, how did you get to stay in Spain for 3 months? How are you able to travel for so long? Are you rich? What's going on? Guys, I am not rich. I'm here to share some secrets with you about how I was able to travel to all of these wonderful, beautiful countries for free or for really cheap. The first way I was able to travel for free or for extremely cheap was volunteering. Now, there are different companies out there to volunteer for, so you can just do a Google search and look up different companies. I recommend what I used, which was a part of the United Nations. They have an environmental program called UNEP, UNEP, and they're really amazing because it's focused on the environment, it's focused on learning of different ways of conservation, recycling, and bettering the environment. So I was able to travel to Germany, Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea with this program. Now, there are other programs like the Red Cross. They have volunteer programs. I've known lots of people who have traveled with the Red Cross. So definitely check out those sites. And I'm sure there are other programs and other volunteer companies as well. So you are able to volunteer, travel, get to learn the country in a more natural way as the local people. And most of the times you have to only pay for your airline ticket. Usually they have a stipend for you for food and living. They have room and board for you, and they also fill you up with lots of activities so you're able to see the country without feeling like touristy. I want to know how the locals live and, see what they see on an everyday basis. So I think volunteering is great. Plus, you get to help people. Sometimes we have to give back in this world, and so being able to help people who are less fortunate than you is a great way to pay it forward to humanity. So definitely look into volunteering. Next way I got to travel the world was being an au pair. Now, I know some of you have heard of au pairing before, but in the United States, it is actually not very common to be an au pair. Actually, when I told people like, hey, I'm going to be an au pair, or have you ever tried being an au pair? A lot of people actually was like, what's an au pair? So it's very unpopular here in the States. But basically, an au pair is someone who takes care of a family's children or child, like a nanny, basically. But everything you do, all of your daily things that you do are in English or whatever language that family wants you to speak to that child or to the children. So for us in America, for the most part, it'll be English. You'll contact a family or a family will contact you, and you'll have a communication before going to the country and before going to the family. And if everything checks out on your list, they will send for you. So a lot of families actually pay for your ticket to go to the other country. But it's not always likely. So for the most part, you have to pay for your own ticket and your health insurance. What is guaranteed is food, a place to stay, and money, pocket money. Now, it's not a whole bunch of money where you can get rich off of, but it is enough to live in that country for however long period of time you're willing to stay there. So those 3 things are guaranteed. Now, some families pay for your travel within the country. Some families pay for your flight, as I mentioned before. But those 3 things, food, a place to sleep, and money, those 3 things are guaranteed when you are an au pair. It's really great, especially if you have babysitting experience, if you have experience with children, or if you just love children. This is something that you would love a lot because you're able to travel to another culture, another country, and experience the culture firsthand in their home, especially if you're learning a different language. This is amazing because that language is spoken all over the house. It's spoken all over the country, so you are immersed completely. You're only speaking English with the children when you are working. So it's a really great experience, especially for you language learners. And don't be alarmed, there are male au pairs too. It is not uncommon. Men can be an au pair too. I did au pairing from a site called aupairworld.com, and this site is wonderful because you get to see all of the different families. You get to apply to families, and families can apply to you. Then after that, I suggest you Skype with them or you WhatsApp with them, and I'll do a whole other video about au pairing another time so that I can get more in depth. But this is very important if you are trying to be an au pair. The next way that you can travel for free or extremely cheap is work exchange. Now, work exchange is a little different to volunteering because most of the time you're not being paid, but you are guaranteed a place to sleep and sometimes food. So keep in mind that some jobs will be paid and some will not. It is an exchange, exactly. So you have to keep in mind that. Now, work exchanges, I've never done a work exchange. It's something that I may look into in the near future, but I do know people who have done a lot of work exchanges. It is extremely popular in Europe and in South America and Australia as well. There's a type of work exchange called woofing, and woofing is basically where you go to different farms in different parts of the world and you help out that way. You help out with farming, you help out with gardening, or anything to deal with the farming world. So that's a great way to travel, especially in places like South America where there are a lot of vast landscapes where there are a lot of people who need an extra hand. So keep in mind that there may not be many paid jobs, but you'll definitely have food and a place to sleep. Another work exchange is helpstay.com. This is a great website. It has different jobs, from working at a hostel to working on a farm to working as a teacher's assistant, all in different parts of the world. It's wonderful. There is a small yearly fee. I believe it's about 25 euro, so maybe $30 a year. So keep that in mind, but I think that's an amazing price to pay for being able to travel the world. 99.9% of the times you do have to pay for your own plane ticket, but you are guaranteed a place to sleep and food, and a lot of times you get a stipend as well. So I definitely recommend helpstay.com. It's just a wonderful website, very easy to use. Another way to travel for free or extremely cheap is, well, do you have any friends that work at the airport? Or if you don't, make some, because a lot of people at the airport who work at the airport, they have special travel benefits, and one of those benefits is having buddy passes. Now, I've traveled with some of my friends who work at the airport. I've traveled with buddy passes, and it's great. It's extremely wonderful. All you have to do is pay for the taxes of that flight, and depending on where you're going, that could be $75 to $100. So that's a really extremely great way to travel for really cheap, and I recommend it. Please don't go out looking for friends at the airport just to use their travel benefits. Please don't be that person, okay? But it is a great way to travel. Now, keep in mind, when you are traveling with a buddy pass, you are on standby. And that means you have to wait for all of the paid passengers to board, and if there are seats left over, then you can get on that flight. And depending on where your friend who has the buddy passes, depending on where they stand in seniority, you may be waiting a very long time. So just keep in mind, there are, good and bad things about traveling on standby, or traveling with a buddy pass rather. So just keep that in mind. But it is a great way, especially traveling internationally, because those flights are usually open for longer periods of time rather than flying domestic. Another great way to travel for free or travel extremely cheap is to teach abroad. You as American or English speaking people, you have gold. You speak the language that everybody in the world wants to know, wants to learn. So why not capitalize on that by teaching that language, English, around the world? And that can give you a great resource to travel. There's so many people on YouTube teaching English, so it's a wonderful way to travel the world, especially if you want to stay a long period of time. But just keep in mind that a lot of companies do pay for your flights. A lot of companies also pay for a vacation to see your family for a week to 2 weeks and back into the country to begin working again. This is not all companies, however, but this is something that you can discuss with whatever company you decide to work with. So this is a really great perk. A lot of companies either pay you enough to live in that country very comfortably, or they provide housing for you. You may be able to actually save enough money to live comfortably when you get back home. So just keep that in mind, teaching abroad. Now, teaching is something that can be very difficult, especially if you don't have experience, especially if you're teaching younger children. So keep that in mind, that is a challenge in itself, but I believe it is worth it. I think it's a wonderful experience. You learn so much about yourself, and on your free time you can practice the language that you're learning, or just observe and absorb the culture that you are surrounded by. So teaching English abroad is a great way to travel. And lastly, this is something that I do as well, and I know not everyone can do this, but there are people out there that can, which is modeling. Now with modeling has taken me to so many different places all over the Caribbean, Ghana, Europe. It's just such a wonderful experience to model, and also acting, and depending on what job you get, you can get paid really well. So that's another option if you have any experience, or if you have any desire to model or to act. It can actually take you around the world, and it's a wonderful experience being surrounded by the fashions and the cultures of different places around the world. So I definitely recommend this to you if this is something you are interested in. And if you want to know more about modeling and acting and how to get into the business, definitely leave a comment below. I'm happy to answer all of your questions. So this is my video about how to travel for free or extremely cheap. A lot of these things on the list I have tried myself. A lot of these things I have friends that are currently doing. So it's a wonderful way. Traveling does not have to be super expensive. It does not have to be something you save 2-3 years to do for 1 week. Traveling can be super enjoyable and super affordable as well. It's all about what you do and what you put into it. When you're traveling abroad and using these methods, you are working as well. So you're able to earn your keep and also stay in the country for a longer period of time. 2 weeks is not enough to really get to know a culture, to get to know a language, to get to taste all of the food, to get to make friends. It's not enough. So I recommend doing these wonderful things to be able to travel the world and experience something that you've never ever experienced before. And I loved Spain so much, and I'm definitely going back. It's amazing. I've met so many great friends, and I can't wait to try other methods of traveling, and I'll definitely keep you updated with other wonderful ways to travel for free and for really cheap. Definitely comment below if there's any questions that you may have. I'm so happy to answer them for you. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy that you are here. Please comment and share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much. Adios.